All right, welcome back to our special broadcast on the day when the Election Commission has announced the schedule for the semi-final assembly polls, as they're being called, across 5 states in this country. But these are unusual times, and so it's going to be, at least initially, an unusual election. So the calendar is up on the screen for you. We can go full frame with that to give you a sense of how it's actually going to play out. It's going to be a 7-phase election for Uttar Pradesh, and all the states are going to poll within the inner and outer limits of those 7 phases, which starts from the 10th of February and goes all the way up to the 7th of March. That's the 7 phases, which is going to be for UP, Punjab, Uttarakhand and Goa vote on the 14th of February, which is the 2nd phase for UP. Manipur will vote across 2 phases between the 5th and 6th phases of the UP calendar, and the counting, the big day, is going to be on the 10th of March. But crucially, the Election Commission says that they weighed all the options about what to do given the surging pandemic, and they said they decided to go ahead with the elections on schedule, but they put a ban on all physical rallies, road shows and so on till the 15th of January. And they say that they're going to assess after that whether they're going to allow physical campaigning. They're urging parties to go virtual, to go digital, because of the campaign and the COVID paradox. All right, let's go across to my colleague Arvind Gunasekar, who's tracked this. He's been at the Election Commission. So Arvind, everyone was curious how the Election Commission is going to tackle these questions of rallies, because last time they put down certain guidelines and restrictions, nobody followed it. This time they seem to have been somewhat more severe, saying a ban on rallies and road shows till the 15th. We'll review after that.
Yeah, Vasu, the Election Commission, while announcing the schedule for the 5 state assembly elections, also released the updated COVID guidelines or the COVID protocol. In fact, this particular COVID protocol was first put out during the Bihar assembly election, and again it was updated during the 5 state assembly elections, including Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam, West Bengal last year. But this time, with the Omicron around, the Election Commission has updated its COVID protocol, and then they have announced the updated version of the COVID protocol. Like you mentioned, the Election Commission has banned all kind of road shows, let it be bike rally or the cycle rally, and also any kind of physical rallies till January 15. So that's a clear ban that the Election Commission has imposed, and the Election Commission has also said that the situation is very much dynamic. So post January 15, again they will review the situation, and based on that, if there is any need, this particular ban will be extended till there is any such need. But this particular ban is only on the rallies and also physical road shows. But the public meetings have been allowed as on this particular minute. As of this particular moment, if you could read the COVID protocol, they have said that the public meetings will be banned from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. That is a normal curfew that will be in effect. But the public meetings can take place during the daytime. So that has not been banned as of this moment. Also regarding the door-to-door campaign, also even there also the Election Commission has opened for that also. But there also the Election Commission has come up with a restriction of allowing only 5 people to be part of this team that will go for door-to-door campaign. So these are the very important COVID protocol that have been implemented or that have been announced as part of the COVID protocol that the Election Commission has announced. Also very importantly, the Election Commission has said that if at all if the Election Commission finds or the district local administration finds any person to be violating the COVID protocol, then the further permission to conduct any kind of campaign or the public meeting, etc., will be denied. So that also the Election Commission has said it very clearly. And also all the political parties, including the candidates, have to give an undertaking saying that they will be complying with the COVID protocol that has been put out by the Election Commission. So this particular election session, let's call it the 7-phase election of the 5 states, that will start on February 10th and that will go on till March 7th, where the election results will be announced on March 10th. Vasu.
All right, okay. Thanks very much indeed, Arvind. Let me just, before I again open it up to panel, let me just go across to Dr. Qureshi, S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner, who's with us. Always good to have you on. Dr. Qureshi, just one thing I wanted to ask you, Dr. Qureshi, that the Election Commissioner said that constitutionally there was no choice about trying to postpone because there's some talk should you postpone because the virus is actually starting to build up peak now. So they had to go ahead. I just wanted to get your view on that. Is there provision within the existing rules where the Election Commission could have postponed?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that they were not carried away by the propaganda which was going on and the demand for postponement. And in every program and every article I was opposing it. I'm glad that they have reiterated the constitutional position. Constitutionally, election can not be postponed even by a day because on the completion of the term of the House, the term ends automatically. There is no question of any extension. The only eventuality in which it can be extended is emergency, during emergency, which is mentioned in the Constitution in three situations: war, external aggression, or internal rebellion. None of these three conditions exist. Therefore, on ground of emergency, the Parliament could not extend the term. Otherwise, for those three, Parliament has to extend the term. So I'm glad that they were not swept off their feet by the propaganda, and they have reiterated that position and have ahead with the schedule.
No, but when you say propaganda, Dr. Qureshi, with all respect, the fact is that we are seeing a massive third wave. It's already here. State after state, infections are rising. Vaccination rates are not that great, including in the poll-bound states, contrary to what the Election Commissioner said. So I'm not sure if it's just propaganda. It is going to be quite challenging to try to hold elections during this time. I mean, there's a risk.
No, quite right, Vasu. Let me explain to you that when Bihar elections were held at the peak of COVID, the COVID situation was much more dangerous because we did not even know what the COVID is, how to deal with this. And at least now we are much better prepared. We have infrastructure and we actually know what the problem is. They did Bihar election excellently at the peak of COVID, and the guidelines which they come out with, which they have now updated, are excellent world-class guidelines. Only surprise for me, the question mark which they have left open-ended, why the rallies issue will be reconsidered after a week or so. What big changes are we expecting after a week? The rallies should have been banned, as they have been banned for 8 days. They should have been banned altogether. Another question mark which I have in my mind is how is a rally different from a public meeting? Call it rally and there are 5 lakh people or 2 lakh people. Call it a public meeting of a leader. There are 2 lakh, 5 lakh people. So the problem stays. So how are these being distinguished and how will they be tackled?
That's a good point. Why only ban it for a week? Because what big shift are you going to see in a week? But I think the important thing is the fact that they've banned it, because when you talked about Bihar, I can tell you, because I went to cover that election, by the grace of God, we didn't have a complete COVID bomb going off in Bihar because no one followed those guidelines. The guidelines on paper may have been fine, but in practice, not a single political party was following it. Huge crowds, no mask, everyone on top of each other, and it was terrible. And same for Tamil Nadu and West Bengal last year. So the ban is so in a sense the ban is important. But you're saying ban the rallies altogether. Would this be the first time such a ban has been imposed?
Yes, indeed. But I'm also saying that apart from rally, even the public meeting, because what is the difference between the public meeting and rally? Because there will be crowds. And, regulating a crowd of 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh is impossible. And let me give you a historical perspective also. In Mr. Sessions' time, there used to be an occasion when on the house there will be a flag of a party, and they will come, their workers will come and forcibly put a flag on your house. Then it led to a lot of violence also. So the initially Election Commission said, no, if you can put it with the permission of the landlord. Now that permission was forcibly extracted. So at that time they realized that enforcing door-to-door ban is impossible. Therefore they banned it altogether. There will be no flag to be seen anywhere. And that has been the practice for the last 25 years.
Qureshi, stay with us. Let me now open it up to panel. As I mentioned, we already had Aarti Jairath, Deshratan Nigam and Geeta Bhatt with us. Also joining is Supriya Srinath, spokesperson of the Congress, is with us. Dr. Darshan Pal, farmer leader, is with us as well. Let me just start first with Desh Ratan Nigam. So, Desh, you believe that this was a good idea, go ahead with the elections, but ban rallies? You think political parties are going to follow this? Because it's going to be very strange to have a campaign where there is no ground activity. First time.
Vasu, these are strange times and extraordinary times, and political parties have to attune and adjust themselves. They cannot do anything else, because at one stage you have, endangering the population because of if it is allowed free for all, and secondly, the Election Commission has to perform its duties and responsibilities in a democracy, and democracy cannot flourish if it is unnecessarily elections are postponed or done in a manner so that ultimately democracy is defeated. So it is the first instance of the banning of rallies that we have come across by the Election Commission today.
Okay.
In the first instance, it can be, further extended or not extended, given the dynamic nature of the situation as of now.
Right.
So it is a wonderful decision. That's what I think so.
You think it's a wonderful decision. Okay. Supriya Shrinet, is the Congress also okay with this? I mean, I know that Priyanka Gandhi, I think you were amongst the first off the block to call off your public events, especially after that huge rush at that marathon, girls marathon. You think it's realistic to have pretty much an election campaign with no physical activities, rallies?
So first up, we did not take a decision to suspend all mass congregation programs because of one event. It was already in the know-how, and Priyanka ji wasn't comfortable doing it. And I think that's what everybody should have done in the first place. I don't think any of us have a choice. I mean, do we want to be a part of the super spreader events? I don't think so. And I think political parties will have to adjust themselves to the new realities on the ground and take cognizance of the fact that these elections are happening in the times of COVID, and we have to follow protocols. I don't think anybody should be crying wolf here. I think we need to be responsible. But more than ever, I think the Election Commission needs to be on guard on the kind of hate speech, on the kind of fake news that one does spread on social media. And because social media is going to be used in a far more, aggressive way than ever before, one needs to be far more vigilant on that. There are already reports of how, all kinds of technology has been put to use to spread hatred, to spread fake news. And I think that needs to be cracked down upon. But I don't think politicians have any other option right now than to adjust to the new realities. Do you want to spread COVID? Absolutely not. All of us should have taken cognizance, just like we did in UP, in Congress.
Geeta Bhatt, you think, as Dr. Qureshi said, it doesn't make sense to just say we're going to ban it till the 15th. It's too short a window. Just ban all rallies, all physical mass event type gatherings for the whole election.
Well, Vasuji, you see, in the present impending COVID circumstances, I think, and the kind of predictions that have been made by the experts, we are, the kind of situation that we are expecting, in some more time. Let us look at this way. Maybe the Election Commission is going to come out with much more stringent, rules in terms of conducting of rallies or public meetings. As I understand, very well taking the point that Qureshi ji was making, public meetings, however, as we understand, are, small gatherings. So, while it is for the aspirants who are going to be contesting the elections, they also have the responsibility along with to improvise, as the Election Commission has tried to improvise, and, in the present circumstances,
but I'm asking
they are
your
also
view.
Using the technology.
I'm asking your view. You think ban everything till the whole campaign? Don't try to do this week by week review, because how will you? How will you take a call?
There is no harm in reviewing the situation, because, as I said, I answered your question that there is a possibility that they might come out with much more stringent restrictions after 15th of January. There is a possibility of even that. So, and of course, in these circumstances, those political parties, which are more technologically savvy, whose karyakartas, they are more digitally proficient in a manner so that they can connect with the voters, they will be having an advantage, in these circumstances. So, it will be important that all political parties should, maybe they now require to apprise their workers that
Okay.
how to use these type of digital applications. And also one small point I want to make is that Election
Yes.
Commission itself is using technology
Right.
for making things easier for the political parties as well as for the voters. Like they are talking about, the
Okay.
C-Vigilance platform where people can, they can report if they are finding something which is not as per the
Right.
norms happening. And also providing platforms to the political parties differently. And also in terms of knowing your, know your candidate, they are going to put for the information regarding the candidates to the
Okay.
voters.
All right. Okay. Let's now. Okay. So that's the frame within which the elections are going to be fought. But let's jump into the actual political akhada of the elections itself. And Sudhin Bhadoria of the BSP is also going to be joining us. So Priya, let me ask you this, Srinet, what is this election going to mean now for the Congress? How high are the stakes for you? Because the view is that in all these states, including in Punjab, where you're supposed to be on a good wicket, internal fighting has put you on the back foot. You're not really a presence in UP. You may once again not form a government in Goa. Uttarakhand is again looking shaky. Is this yet again going to be a severe test for the Congress and its leadership?
I don't know if you've done the role of a doomsday professor, but if you haven't, I would like to refute you on all of the analysis that you have made for all of the 5 states.
Please do.
We are
Please
going
do.
We're going into elections in the 5 states, and yes, we are going to fight a big battle in Uttar Pradesh. But I think for the other 4 states, and also including Uttar Pradesh, please understand what is at stake. What has happened? Look at the price rise that the country is battling under. The unprecedented levels of unemployment in states like Uttarakhand to the levels of 40%. Look at the treatment of farmers, not just in Punjab, but all across the country. Ajay Mishra Teni continues to be a union state home minister. This
Right.
says a lot about how brazen the government has become. And do you not think that the people of this country want to punish and push the BJP out? Well, I see it from where I do, and I'm very, very hopeful of results, because this is also the time where
Yeah.
people will vote for good governance and the truth. And I don't think the BJP represents any of that.
Okay, but is that what is really happening on the ground? Do we have Geeta Bhatt and Desh Ratan Nigam? Are they still with us? Okay, we'll just get our BJP voice up in just a
I
second.
can tell you what's happening on the ground.
Okay, we heard your take on what you think is happening on the ground. We'll hear from the other side as well. But till then, Aarti Jairat, obviously strong words there from Supriya Srinet. But if you look at what is happening in Uttar Pradesh, from the time of the catastrophic handling of the second wave, deaths, oxygen shortage, bodies in the Ganga, this huge, big, air, land and sea propaganda blitz by the government, Prime Minister going there, schemes, mandir, all of that. Many believe the BJP is back in pole position.
Well, I think the BJP likes to give that impression. If you remember, before the West Bengal polls, they had created this huge hype that they were going to form the government in Bengal, and that Didi would be out, and surveys were happening showing the BJP, surging ahead and so on. And we saw what the results were. It was actually Mamata Banerjee's party that surged, got the best ever result in West Bengal,
Right.
crossing 200. So I think the BJP, does a lot of propaganda. That's something that they're very, very good at. Since I have not visited UP yet, I would be hesitant to say what the mood on the ground is.
Right.
But there are a lot of factors that seem to be working against the BJP.
Okay.
The biggest of which I think is a farmer's mood in Western UP. And
Right.
remember, that's where the polls begin. They begin in Western UP. And
Yeah.
as we've seen in these multi-phase polls, once a mood overtakes the first and second phase, it kind of somehow spreads to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
So
let's
you're
take it
saying,
easy.
okay, you're saying decks appear to be loaded, or there's a considerable negative sentiment against the BJP. Geeta Bhatt, if you're back with us, do you agree that there's a massive PR? I mean, if you open a newspaper, even sitting in Delhi, at least my first 4 or 5 pages are only ads of the UP government. But is that covering up a pretty poor situation on the ground?
And you realize who puts the maximum ads out and why?
Well, I think, Vasuji, all political parties, they democratically have a right to to advertise their, and publicize about the work that they have
Of
been
course.
doing while in governance. And it is not just one political party.
No,
all
but is
political
UP
parties are
being
doing it.
is UP being
Aam
misgoverned?
Aadmi Party
Farmers are
I think the
upset.
Aam Aadmi Party full
Second
page
wave was
advertisement, the
disastrous.
government spent
Farmers are
3
upset. Second, no, I'm saying now I'm talking of misgovernance. Farmers upset, mishandling of second wave, rising unemployment. Is the BJP in trouble in UP, as the Congress suggests?
No, unemployment rate is much lesser in Uttar Pradesh than is the national average, or which is there in Punjab or in Rajasthan. And
Wow.
The political party
What-
in
Geetaji, where-
Punjab, the kind of governance that
Geetaji,
the
always
Congress
cite
has shown-
sources. When you make claims like that, always
Can I
cite
please
source,
Yeah.
always
Well,
quote
I
data.
can-
You can't
I
make
can-
sweeping claims.
No, I will definitely give you the data also. Don't worry about that. Just give me a second. I'll give you
I
the
can
data.
give you
But
a
what
data
I'm
in
saying
5 seconds if
is
you can
that
please allow me.
in the Congress, the Congress governed state, the kind of misrule or
Yeah.
the kind of the internal fights which are there, open fights, street fights are there, the way we have
Can I
seen
please
in
come in,
Punjab.
Vasu?
Please.
One second,
please,
Supriya,
please,
one second.
Let me just finish. Then
Yes,
you
yes,
can
finish.
counter me.
Go ahead, Geetaji, go ahead.
So, you see, it is for the people of the state to decide, and I think they can, especially in today's,
Okay.
digitally savvy voters, they can
Yeah.
very easily, you cannot hide things, they very well know.
They know
what
the ground
what is
reality.
The kind of governance the other
Okay,
constituencies are giving.
okay.
Where the
Okay,
state
Okay, Geetaji, I'm going to allow a quick rebuttal by Supriya. I have to go to a lot of other people. Supriya, so quick one, please. Yes.
But that's exactly the point, that no matter what you publish in newspapers and cry from the rooftops, the
Yeah.
reality on the ground is that unemployment in UP has increased 2.5 times under Yogi Adityanath, and for
Right.
the youth, it has increased 5 times.
Okay.
We are 32 out of 36 as far as per capita income is concerned. What are you even talking about?
Okay.
Come prepared with your facts. Do not try and push the
Okay,
ads that the
okay.
Yogi Adityanath
Before we don't
government
want to get into Congress versus BJP. Just we have to expand it
does.
also.
Facts.
Let's expand. Dr. Darshan Pal is patiently waiting. I'm coming to you in just a second, Dr. Darshan Pal, to talk about Punjab. But first, Ghanshyam Tiwari of the Samajwadi Party. Ghanshyam Tiwari, the Samajwadi Party has rather optimistically also already tweeted, Akhilesh aa rahe hain 10 March ko. Let's put that tweet up. You've already declared victory, Ghanshyam Tiwari. But let's be honest, while it does appear that you are the main opposition in Uttar Pradesh at the moment to the BJP, the fact is that would you not concede that from the point in March, April, May during the second wave where the BJP did look vulnerable, now they appear to be far more in a formidable position as we go into, now the dates announced, as we go into the campaign?
Good evening, Vasu, to you, my fellow co-panelists and your viewers. 3 things stand out. One is that I must congratulate every voter in Uttar Pradesh that the massive opportunity to throw out a government that showed them the pandemic of unemployment, the pandemic of price rise, and bure din, and mocked them when people needed oxygen, threatened them when people needed oxygen, and still continues to do the same.
Right.
Continues to keep a minister who is accused of being part of a conspiracy to trample down farmers. So more down. So this is a massive opportunity for people of Uttar Pradesh to rout such a government. As far as Samajwadi Party is concerned, Akhilesh aa rahe hain. The strength of the campaign is built on what we saw in Vijay rallies, in Vijay Yatras, in Parivartan rallies, where people across the state said that there are 2 fights parallel. One is the fight for Bunyadi Mudde of Uttar Pradesh, and the other is Bebunyadi Mudde.
Okay,
So
but
it is the strength of that campaign that tells us that Akhilesh aa rahe hain.
But now, Ghanshyam Tiwari, you can't campaign physically. Those big road shows and those of Akhilesh's and drive-throughs. I was on one of those ruts. You can't do that. Also, I mean, Akhilesh at that time had not got vaccinated. I mean, we had this conversation. It was not a good signal to send. You're not getting I hope he's now got vaccinated, but this is going to be a problem. But you think that Akhilesh hi aa rahe hain, you're not swayed by the BJP's sort of huge push. But let me just go across, because I must also bring in Dr. Darshan Pal. Dr. Darshanpal, you believe now that the dates have been announced, the campaign is all set to roll out, that this farmers' agitation, you think, is it going to have an impact on these elections, particularly states like Punjab and Uttar Pradesh? And is it going to hurt particularly the BJP? Or now that they've rolled back the farm laws, it won't be a factor?
Vasu, in spite of the fact that Modi ji has taken back these laws, the farmers' movement has generated an energy in the masses of India, particularly in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and other neighboring states, that people are coming more and more against the BJP. You see the situation in UP. When we started our Andolan in Delhi, it was a different. And in Western UP, we see that each and every part of the Western UP had turned against BJP. And I think that wave is moving from, as the Election Commission has given the time, from West to East UP. I think the wave of farmers' movement creating a hatred against BJP and turning the tables against BJP.
But Dr. Darshanpal, no, Dr. Darshanpal, 1 second though, because the movement was never political. Of course, some of your colleagues have announced their political ambitions, especially in Punjab. The movement has said that they don't necessarily endorse this. But when you say that farmers are turning away from the BJP, who are they going towards? Because as far as I can understand it, you're not endorsing any alternative. So who, according to you, who's going to benefit from this? If what you're saying is true, BJP may contest it, but if what you're saying is true, who benefits?
No, these are the two aspects. Number one, the farmers' movement has generated anguish against BJP in each and every person of India. For example, every person of India, I say that right from the Jammu Kashmir to the Kanyakumari. Secondly, in Punjab, some people may think, and in UP may think, that they are going to fight elections. Not only this time they are thinking, previously also they were thinking to go for the elections. But major farmers organization with a good numerical following, they are not going for elections. So what I want to say is that farmers movement, before farmers movement, there was not such a situation in the minds of people of India against the Modi ji and his government. But farmers movement has generated and created an environment where minds of the people has gone against them, gone against Modi ji's regime. And I think we'll see that scenario in Punjab and particularly in UP also. So in that sense, the movement, because movements do not only that it was a farmers movement, so issue of the farmers was addressed, but also the farmers had created a social, cultural atmosphere in such a way that whole population was affected by it.
Okay, I need to take a break, but before that, a quick comment from Akhilesh. Akhilesh, you believe that despite all of this farmers movement and the usual arguments about economic distress, that there is still with the very strong Hindutva push by the BJP, the way the rhetoric has been ramped up, the way the signaling has happened, that has also contributed significantly to diminishing some of this public discontent, anger, whatever you call it. Akhilesh. Ashutosh, sorry, Ashutosh.
Yeah.
Ashutosh, I beg your pardon. I beg. Freudian slip.
Vasu, I think
Vasu,
I think when the Bharatiya Janata Party, when it goes back to Hindutva, that means that the BJP is on the weak wicket. Because BJP, you remember 2014, Mr. Modi did not refer to Hindutva. They were talking about the development and development and development. And finally, at one place in Assam in 2014, he talked about Hindutva. So if the BJP is making a massive push for the Hindutva, that means BJP is on a weak wicket and it's in deep trouble. The point number two, this election is going to decide if Hindutva is really the driving force for the BJP or the secular issues like the price rise and unemployment. I think the price rise, the unemployment is going to be the crunch issue. And if the BJP has answers, probably they'll sail through. If they don't have an answer, they are doomed.
Okay. All right. Well, one argument is that you can do both. You can both push Hindutva and you can also push welfare schemes, which is what the BJP says that they're doing. But take a short break and come back with this fascinating conversation in a moment from now. Welcome back. Our special coverage of the semi-final chunavs ahead of the big 2024 Mahachunav, the Lok Sabha elections. The dates announced today by the Election Commission. Ghanshyam Tiwari of the Samajwadi Party. Let me ask you, Ghanshyam, you were saying that Akhilesh aa rahe hain. This is what the SP has already tweeted. But if you just look at the numbers, what happened in the 2017 assembly elections, the last assembly elections, BJP wins over 300 of the 403 seats, has a current vote share of 40%. You and the BSP are halfway there, only 20% each, and you're not even fighting together. So you need a 10 percentage point swing away from the BJP. That's a massive swing to be able to stand a chance of beating them. Do you sense seriously on the ground this huge, it's almost like a wave against the BJP or a wave in favor of Samajwadi Party? Because everyone who's traveled there, by the way, to UP, I'm talking of, reasonably credible journalists, no one has come back with that impression.
Let me piece together Uttar Pradesh in a way that Supriya Shneji would be able to do a better job, but I'll still try. UP rural has 3 crore families. The median income of these 3 crore families is expenditure of these 3 crore families, roughly 5,000 rupees. UP urban has 1 crore families. The median income is just under 10,000 rupees.
Yeah.
This is how poor Uttar Pradesh is. This is the kind of state that BJP has subjected to massive unemployment. Does not admit that price side is the problem, forces into a vicious cycle of hatred, and does not recognize poor health infrastructure is draconian.
But people say,
at the time of
but people.
So I'm saying that my point is that when you visit Uttar Pradesh, people will not tell you the kind of misery that they have faced in 5 years. And if BJP is elected, this misery is only going to be expanded. The numbers that you quoted are an outcome of that campaign. My final point is, going into 2017, BJP promised 3 things: Achhe Din, better representation for backwards and Dalits, and success of Shamshan Kabristan politics.
Okay, but Supriya,
none of those 3 things stand.
Yeah.
But Supriya, the fact is that in addition to factors like Hindutva and so on, and of course publicity, one does hear that the government's enhanced ration distribution, both at the central level, the UP government also topping it up with dal and so on and so forth, the cash transfers under PM Kisan and so on and so forth, has considerably or at least significantly managed to douse the sense of discontent caused by economic distress.
No, this is the first. I have not heard that discontent has been doused in UP. In fact, quite the contrary. What we have seen in UP is perhaps a reflection everywhere else in the country, more pronounced in Uttar Pradesh. People who've had to reel under high prices, or who've been threatened because they asked for oxygen, or doctors who were told we'll impose an NSA on you if you ask for additional supplies. You think they will forget what happened during Corona? You think they're going to forget what happened during the last 5 years? Look at the kind of unemployment there is in UP. Look at the kind of gruesome crime against women that has happened in UP.
Okay.
You think they're going to be satisfied because you're giving them some additional ration? I mean, this is what you're supposed to do. The reality is that you've got so many people to a brink where actually they are depending on the free ration. You should have in fact created opportunities. You should have in fact created employment, which is all a empty rhetoric.
Okay. Geeta Bhatt, the argument being made is it's because there is economic distress, mishandling, that the BJP has doubled down on Hindutva. Some very strong comments, divisive comments being made. UP Chief Minister keeps using terms like Abba Jan to bait the opposition. Deputy Chief Minister even indicating that Kashi and Ayodhya are done, ab Mathura ki bari hai.
Vasuji, first of all, since the unemployment rate is being, brought again and again, I would like to put forth CMIE data, because that time you didn't give me the time. to quote it, it is the present data shows that in Uttar Pradesh it is 4.9% and Punjab is at 6.8% and Rajasthan is at 27.1%. So Supriya ji, the kind of condescending tone in which she was trying to speak, speaking volumes about the Congress culture of and their conduct.
Right.
I would like to bring that to her notice. Secondly,
Okay.
the question that you have raised in terms of the point of bringing Mathura along with Kashi and with Ayodhya.
Yes.
You see, this is not something. It is not something which is an electoral pitch. This is an issue which has been there ever since. The Bharatiya Janata Party has put forth the construction of the Ram Mandir,
Vasu,
or
can you please
in terms of the
No,
of the other.
it
Please
is-
let me complete.
No,
so
but, Geeta ji.
see, so this is something which has been
Vasu,
time
can I
and
please
again based on the sentiments, based
No,
on
no,
the
no,
sentiments of the people of the
No, no,
society.
one second,
Vasu,
Geeta ji,
can I
Geeta ji.
please-
The other political
Supriya, one second,
parties are
Geeta
not
ji.
going to come out and are not,
No, no,
they
Geeta
are
ji,
not
Geeta
standing
ji,
with it, then
Geeta
it's
ji,
their
Geeta
problem.
ji, Geeta ji. Firstly,
Can
one
I
second.
please come
Firstly, a
Vasu?
political party raises something in its manifesto or at a public platform. Of course, it's electrical. It's a political party. Why a political party which is governed by a secular constitution is raising questions of mandir and so on itself is beyond me. But this is not sentiment. You are threatening, you are almost
Vasu,
issuing
can I
a
please
veiled
come in?
warning about the potential destruction of a mosque. We all remember that slogan about Ayodhya Jhanki hai aur
Vasuji,
Can I
this is
please
Kashi
come in?
Mathura
cultural
baki hai.
context of this
Now,
country. Please,
a
this is in
deputy
the
chief
cultural
minister
and
making
Can I
such a
please come in?
statement
of this country.
is very problematic.
Can I please come in?
He is the
Vasu?
deputy
No,
chief
I want
minister.
No, you see, Vasuji, when we are talking about when Mathura is being, you see, can we deny that for for hundreds of
What
years
is she
there
talking
were
about?
not one but thousands of temples which because
No,
of
one
foreign
second.
invasions,
No,
they
one
were
second.
No, no,
Can I
Geeta ji,
come in, Vasu?
Geeta ji.
Here, no one has been
You
talking
cannot,
about three
Geeta
most
ji,
problematic.
Geeta ji,
three important
Geeta ji, we
Indian
cannot, you,
pilgrimages
no, no,
for
a
which-
political
for
party,
which the Indian, no, this is
Geeta
that's what I'm
ji,
saying. It is
you're-
a cultural context, it is a civilizational context.
no, what are you saying? Are you
Now,
trying to
if one
justify
political
demolishing
party
more
is-
mosques?
Vasu,
I mean,
can
You-
please
I hope
the
you're not.
mosque- No, Vasuji, that
Okay.
mosque, who had made that mosque?
Geeta
And it
ji,
is
who
not
has
a
made
mosque,
that
it's a
mosque? Are we
Babri
now going to
structure.
re-prosecute
It
who
was
made
a
which mosque?
Babri
Okay,
structure
all right.
Vasu, can I
Okay, so
please
you are
comment?
kind of justifying.
No. So
Okay.
you think that the mosque was made
No,
on
no,
a
Geeta
barren
ji.
land? There was no temple
Vasu,
over it.
Okay,
Are
okay,
you
all
saying
right.
that?
Okay,
Vasuji, are you saying
I
that
hope
there
such
was no
rhetoric
temple which was
is not
destroyed and over which a
escalated
mosque was
in
made?
this campaign. Okay, a quick
Can I
yes,
please come in, Vasu, for 5 seconds?
very quickly, Supriya. Yes, then I need to move on. Yes, Supriya.
You know, if according to the esteemed panelist of the BJP and the chief minister, if they had done enough work now, तो चाइना का एयरपोर्ट नहीं दिखाना पड़ता. Please don't speak in between.
Okay,
मैं
okay,
आपके
one
बीच
second,
में
one
नहीं
second, one
बोली
second.
थी.
Yes.
मैं आपके बीच में नहीं बोलती. चाइना का एयरपोर्ट आपने दिखाया, आंध्र प्रदेश का डैम दिखाया, अमेरिका की सड़कें दिखाई,
Right.
वेस्ट बंगाल का पुल दिखाया. What were you doing in 5 years when you had to borrow everything to put together? And the reality is, you may have whatever cultural sensitivities that you do. There is a constitution of this country which is very much in force in Uttar Pradesh, and you cannot make the noises and have the narrative that you are trying to build.
Okay.
It's absolutely disgusting to say the least.
Okay.
And you
Now-
sit here and justify it on television.
Okay. Dr. Darshan Pal,
You should not.
one second. No, Geeta ji, no, I must move to others. Dr. Darshan Pal,
Yes.
Dr. Darshan Pal, one thing is there that people are saying that you may talk about the fact that there is farmer anger, etc. But at the end of the day, elections are about political choices. You have to vote for party A or party B. If you see the division everywhere, whether it's Punjab, there's so many parties in the mix, similarly in Goa, etc., that you don't think that this ends up actually helping the ruling party? That this anger, this farmer anger, it gets diffused. Some may vote for SAPA, some may vote for BSP, some may vote for Congress, So,
No, what I wanted to say previously is that the farmers' movement had crystallized the anger of the people. Even intelligentsia, media, all cultural activists, they first time after the 7 years of Modi rule, they first time came to the views, they told us that this time the farmers' movement has crystallized the anger and collective, protest of the people. And that is why you can see, even in Punjab, even on the visit of Prime Minister, the farmers were on the roads. Previously, it never happened like this.
Right.
Similarly, previously never happened like this. Similarly, I think the people in UP also, they will respond in continuity with their anger which have been generated by the farmers movement. That is what I have seen. It has played its role, and I know it qualitatively it goes into converting a defeat for the BJP or not, that I don't do.
Right.
But it has created an atmosphere in favor of the other parties.
Okay, it has created an atmosphere. We're running very short on time. Ghanshyam Tiwari, do you believe now, as the formal polls are announced, I mean all parties had started campaigning even earlier, that all of you, opposition particularly, woke up somewhat late? There was public anger, there was COVID. You were not able to channel that. Now you're trying to do it. Is it too little, too late?
Well, I think saying that opposition should channel public anger is not the right phrase the way we think about it. And the fact is, the BJP has perpetrated Bure Din on common man. The narrative they are creating going into this election, because today the narrative is not about the hatred among Hindu and Muslim. The farmers movement, the need for employment, the price hike has changed the narrative. BJP has been unable to polarize this election, and that is why we have seen all kinds of Nautanki that happened with PM's visit in Punjab. So clearly BJP goes into the election on a back foot. Omicron is a reminder to second wave, and we are very upbeat that people will choose a government that speaks about the bunyadi issues of their lives, not the absolute propaganda that BJP thinks that India needs right now.
Go across, last word. PKD Nambiar, BJP supporter, is with us. Sorry, PKD, you just had to make what is called a cameo appearance in the movie, as it were, just towards the very end. But good to have you. Last word from you. Bure Din is what the opposition says. You brought Bure Din in UP and in other states where you're ruling, and now that is going to be, people are going to punish you.
See, the Bure Din and the Achhe Din, that will be decided by the people. I think in the TV panel and the panel discussions, we can try to create some perceptions, whether it is pro or anti. But the people of today in 2021 are very, very wise. They know who they wanted to see as their chief minister and who they wanted to be there in their opposition leader. I think politics is getting matured, or at least our electorate is getting much more matured than ever. So let's leave some amount of the decision making, only in the 5 years, once you get the power, the common man of this country gets a power to choose his leader. And they are very, very wise, whether it is in UP or in Punjab or in Manipur or in all other states. They will take their decision. I think let the politicians play the
people
game
decide.
Of politics. Yeah, let the people decide.
All right. Well, nobody could argue with that, but we're out of time. Thank you all so much for joining me. You've been a great panel. But don't go away. We'll continue this focus on NDTV.